I guess.
No, I'm all right, Ken.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, no, thank you, Ken.
What's the objective of the meeting?
It's the, you know, it's the beginning. It's him coming, the way I looked at it is him coming and start talking, you know? See what he expects or introduces a concept to what we're gonna do. And then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'd rather have him started.
Yeah, I think that's good.
So we're going 2 o'clock?
Yeah,
How
Okay,
about we do 1:30?
1:30.
Yeah.
that's fine.
Do I hear one? Do I hear one?
Uh,
Going once?
What?
Going
You want more than a half hour before he
twice?
gets there?
Do we need more than a half hour?
I got one. Go for 12:30.
I don't think so. But it's up to you.
Let's do one. Let's
Okay,
do
1
one.
o'clock at the
Maria.
restaurant.
Going once, going twice. Yeah.
I got stuff you guys do already.
I said the restaurant.
That needs swept too.
Thank you. Ooh, good man.
Very good, how are you?
Well, I'll get it. It's been a nice day.
Maybe I can do that.
A long day.
One of these guys.
I hope so. I like long days.
Well, we didn't have a pump running until
What pump?
the gas pump.
Oh, really?
1 o'clock.
What happened?
The gears got inside it, the pump will run, but it would not meter.
Oh, yeah?
Or the dollars.
So we need our new pump next year, huh? We should probably order it.
He jerry-rigged it so we can use it right now, but we don't know how long it's gonna work.
So I told him to go with, just for the sake of, the part's gonna be like $300. I told him for the sake of just going over the part, he could get it in by Thursday.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, might as well.
I just,
Now, we're gonna keep that.
because I'm gonna keep that, I'm gonna probably keep it open on weekends through October, so. If we were gonna shut down at the end of September, we try to chance it.
Did I ever ask you if you knew Richard Spoon? Dick Spoon from Herbershire.
No, we might not even have a quorum there.
He was managing-
Well, we can't vote anyway.
Right. I texted him, asked him if
He
he
got me
wanted
in.
to phone him in, he said he had plans for it.
It's crazy, sorry.
Yes,
All right, like you've been working.
I was like, all right then.
He's even got a matching mask.
Will be here tonight?
Rick is not.
He's not, because then Tom will be running the show, okay.
Who's staying there, busy boy?
Over there, helping out that rock.
Stay busy.
Yeah, well, that's what you got business for.
That's fair.
I don't want to hear the complaints.
That's right. Gary was fine.
Nobody listened anyway.
They never do.
Yes.
You can oversee my lot yet, Kevin?
I probably did.
I can share with you.
Where is it?
341. Sorry, across the street from 45. At the end of the cul-de-sac. Number 45. One house. The whole street's on one house.
Oh, yeah, okay,
We're down the end of the road. At the end. I'm gonna have a survey. All I'm gonna do-
I must be sure.
Leave it down there.
Yeah, good
Stack, he was, where you wanna go 3-1?
So we have to see. I haven't walked yet.
Crickets fan. Hey, buddy.
It's probably not hard to do.
Good.
Empty trip.
Hi. Very good. How are you?
Right back.
I should have.
Buddy, how are you?
Anything
Well, I know you don't, but I sure.
I'm willing to die.
Really.
Well, I'm not worried about the coat, I'm just worried where his hands have been.
I'm worried about everything about
I
that
should get a
guy.
pat anyway.
Oh,
He's only 62%, I don't think that's enough.
Is Rick coming or not?
I knew he was gonna be influenced.
It has to be, or
It's
what,
like
like,
another 40 days.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that, I've been using 99%.
Like rubbing alcohol?
No, it's,
Thanks, Lois.
You glad to see me?
Always am. Oh, really?
Trying to take care of business.
You and your wife were talking about the hammer, like touching the cans back there. One of my neighbors.
Jim's saying that stuff doesn't transfer. What?
Kills everything else.
Actually, the 27th is the last business day. Okay.
That's what he told me, now I don't know if that's
Now
true.
they're gonna do
Speaks a
I
lot.
need booze. What about you? Okay.
See we'll be there and maybe someone else, but I'm on surgery on the.
So that means you can spill vodka.
Passed
right?
No one passed away. Kathy's brother-in-law had.
If you don't mind.
Heart attack.
So is it her sister's
Been too many
husband?
things
Yeah.
going on.
Her younger sister, something, had 2 heart attacks. She's having surgery in the morning.
Oh, okay.
And then she was like, why don't I leave Tuesday? I was like,
I know. Well, that's.
Big chef?
Yeah.
if you need to stay another day, stay
Did
another
they have
day.
the folders for the french fries and all that?
And I think we'll be fine.
They had to have some kind of seal to make that thing work. I don't know how. Somebody knows.
How long were you on vacation?
Sandwich
Same?
cars.
Yeah.
You know, they have
Just
sandwich
go
cars
read
for all
for
two different
It
sandwiches.
was like,
Yeah.
we
We were at Tesla.
I was gone about 13 days. I left Friday. I left Friday, came back the next
There's stuff
Thursday.
on the shaker.
I only missed one
It's an
mow.
automatic bagger.
Oh, okay.
I came back Friday so I could mow. I flew back Thursday night so I could mow Friday and
Throw
Saturday.
them in the shaker.
That's what the doc looks like.
Solve it. Turn on the shaker.
It hurt.
And the shaker go like this.
It's the first time that it
It's
occurred.
like a kill down.
Oh, yeah.
And the french fries would take it to your head when you got to the weight you were supposed to do.
With the radio.
Once you do it, fill the bag, then
Fun
you
stuff.
start to put it in. It didn't work with the shaker.
He's doing a lot of, Seth's doing a lot of talking, doing a lot of.
Yeah, it'll be the
I already have
first.
3 driveways this week.
Everything they did with us was stainless steel.
We looked kind of
They did our pots, they did our,
curb.
actually, they're our grills.
I'm getting a lot of these.
I did enclosure at the chicken.
Fry burger.
There you are, we couldn't figure you out, one master man up there.
Right there, the jagged.
Problem is, we had this.
There it is. Right there. There's a remnants of skull. I was 19 years old. You know, just right there, came out. And here's the chain's going like this. And there's a wheel here and here's right there.
Probably the only reason I guys went straight, I mean, I only would have been
The
straight
first one,
if
you
I
loosen the chain
needed
and
to
take
park 2
it off.
boats there.
Well, even though the radius.
This roll.
Yeah.
And when you did that, you pulled it out. This
That's
is-
cool.
It's a dimension and a half.
Show you.
And yeah, no, I guess-
That's kind of.
Okay, folks, Rick's not here this evening, so I'll be running the meeting. Let's start by the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just like to welcome you, August 31st, 2020 operations meeting. We have a proposed agenda. We have one thing that we'd like to add, and that's a spillway update. So we'll be adding a spillway update by Dwayne. First on the agenda is pool recoding. Ken Rozelle.
Like I said in our last board meeting, we're gonna be closing the pool, right after Labor Day weekend. We're on our 8th year, and that's usually when they recommend to recoat the bottom of the pool. It is showing signs of wear, mainly from the sun and whatnot, but got a quote, it's gonna cost $1,795.32 for the purchase of the epoxy to coat the bottom of the pool. Our plan is to drain it on Tuesday after Labor Day and let it dry. We have to clean it and then recoat it, then fill it back with water so it can get winterized. Pretty simple. I was talking to Deborah that we'd pull that expense out of the building and grounds repair. We have approximately $29,000 left that we haven't spent in that. So I just want to put that on the agenda, request to spend that money for the pool relining. That'll be voted on our next board meeting.
Is
Ken,
that
do the guys do it?
Pardon?
Do the guys do it?
Yeah, we will do it, yes.
Okay, all right.
New business A?
Yes.
Any other discussion? Okay, next item, we have Helmack charitable giving opportunities. Jan Salee.
Okay, I'd just like to update you kind of on a little bit where we are financially and the opportunities that we have to kind of give back to the Heritage Lake community. As many of you know, if you participated many years ago in wine tasting and casino nights, some of you may remember some of those, and recently we've had very successful poker runs going, and this money primarily we have accumulated in our charitable gaming account. Those funds can only go to 501 organizations. And we have used some of the monies in the past. We have donated to the athletic programs at North Putnam. We've donated to the music, choir and band programs, but those are several $100s we've been able to do over the years. But currently we have in that account, and then we have some monies in our general account. We actually have 3 accounts: a gaming account, a general account, and we hold money for all of you for the fireworks, which we don't use but only for fireworks. So anyway, we have several $1,000s that need to be spent, and the Indiana Gaming Commission wants us to do that. We want to do that, and we felt we didn't have a fairly sizable amount till we've had these past, recent successes, which is really good. And we feel like the events that were held here for members and the community, that it would make the most sense to give back most of the money back to Heritage Lake in some form. However, through Helmack, we would like for it to be, and I would guesstimate, we're not talking the hundreds of thousands, we're probably talking $8,000 to $10,000. If we would look at primarily most of the charitable gaming account and then some additional funds we have in our own operating account. So it would be, we're looking for projects that you might have in mind, some ideas. We're just now starting with the last poker run that was very successful into some ideas and ways that we can accomplish that and possibly give back through the POA, because our organization is a 501, and so for it to be charitable giving, it needs to be a 501 organization. We could give to Habitat, we could give to Goodwill, we could give to a lot of really needy places, but we don't feel that that's necessarily giving back to our community, even though people here benefit from those possibilities. So I guess as I think about it, and I want Brenda to add to this, for whatever I've missed too, we want to start thinking about what we could do. We want input from a lot of different places, especially from the board, and maybe get a decision made over the winter, so whatever would happen, it could go into next spring. I feel like before we do any more, fundraising and activities that raise monies in this way, it would be really good to get a project or whatever we're going to do in mind and then kind of go from there. So we wish we had enough to maybe renovate the activity center or to build a new pool. I don't know, some of the things take hundreds of thousands, and we sure don't have that, but we have enough to give back, and so we're looking for ideas to go back and share with Helmack members. So if you have any questions, Brenda, can you think of anything to add to that?
Only that so because Hellneck has been, for the community, again, like Jan said, we want to give back to the Heritage Lake community. But we're not really out there in everyone's face like the board or whatever. We just have the few events during the year. And so we want to make sure that it's recognized that it's from us as well. So, I mean,
Right.
and if there are other projects out there that we can partner with, that would be fine with us too.
Yeah, go ahead. And one of the things that we have talked about scholarships, but I work on the scholarship committee, and we're in pretty good shape on scholarship funds, and I know members might want to do that, but we're okay. Kids Count, the fundraising that's been done and money's raised, Kids Count for the camp and everything, they're in good shape, I believe, right now. So it's almost something, where's something new and different that we can, really do to make an impact. Because as all of you probably know, we are also a 501c. I always get confused. I think we're a 7 and you all are a 4, or it's the reverse. So we can't give to ourselves. We have to give to another 501. So we are independent of the POA board, which is unlike the other committees, within the board itself, your committees, so to speak. But of course, our whole goal and purpose is to do what we can, the events and activities for Heritage Lake community.
Have you thought of any possible donations that,
So do you mean projects
Yes.
or? Well, I have a pet project that I would like to see eventually happen. It may not be with this money, and it may not there may not be enough money.
Yeah.
But one thing that was raised is, so during the events at the clubhouse here, people pull up, their boats up, and then they're constantly stepping across that riprap that's down there. I know at some of where we're parking, the boat slips already that are permanent slips for people. It would be nice to have, and again, we haven't even looked into how much money it would even cost, but it would be nice to have something along there that's similar to what we have for the boat slips, so people don't have to step on that riprap and fall and kill themselves. We've had people injured down there. So that was just one possibility. There was another, I think there was some mention of a dog park or something, and we could contribute to maybe something like that.
To Brenda, another organization or a couple of things that I've thought of too, with camp, being involved in the camp and then the activities here, there's really no shade over the picnic tables that are below right here. An awning or something to put that in the shade. Or I realized that the lake committee, and if we did food again at the boat poker run, which we didn't this year, the taco truck came in, all the tents and everything and tables have to all be set up down there. What about the expansion of the shelter down there, similar to the shelter that's up here? And again, we don't know cost, it's just, that's a thought.
Just ideas, and that's really why we're coming to you, hoping that you know more about what's really needed, what would make the biggest impact, where can we use our money wisely? That's really what we're looking
ideas
for.
that I've heard, we've been having a lot of concerts this summer, and somebody suggested maybe some type of stage, band shell, some type of area like that. That's an idea that's been thrown out. Another idea, I know down at Lincoln Park, the playground equipment, I think, has been removed because of age. So that might be.
We replaced it though. We put in a new piece down there.
At Lincoln Park?
That cyclone climber.
There is a piece, but before Charlie left us, his concern after the big playground things that were done here by Snack Shack Grill, his big thing was I remember he was talking about, let's do something at Lincoln Park, and then we kind of disbanded our group and life went on.
I did that. We spent $21,000 like 2 years ago.
Super.
We put in that blue thing at Lincoln Park. The reason why we left the one there is because it's toddler size.
Mm-hmm. I noticed the
Wasn't-
slide is gone. It's gone last year.
Well, it was unsafe.
It was,
We had that in the merry-go-round.
The
thing.
merry-go-round, those had to be thrown away because they were an insurance issue because of
Yeah,
the
they're-
bolts and the
they were
stuff like
all
that.
kinds of things.
But we moved the swings out from, wasn't the swings what we moved down from the woods as well? Or something? No, that little climber thing, that
Yeah,
globe.
yes,
looking-
yes, yeah. Actually, I think there's about 3 or 4 nice pieces of playground.
We brought one
furniture
piece
down
from the woods that we could safely reuse. We got rid of the things they couldn't use. His guys were instrumental in getting rid of all those things, and then repainted, reset up the swings. We added that cyclone climber. We put in a brand new playset at the marina and a brand new playset at the campground. Which was, but I mean, I spearheaded that project because I was on crutches and I couldn't do anything else. I was just sitting at home. And I didn't realize you could spend $20,000 on playground equipment like that.
Oh, absolutely.
It was unbelievable. But yes, the reason why we left that was the lady that came, and I can't remember what company she was with, but she walked it with us before we purchased anything. And she suggested leaving that because you could say, okay, well, this handles only little kids. The new ones at the marina and the campground can handle a little bit bigger kids. So we were trying to kind of maximize the dollars, you know, for people, so people know that if the little kids can play here, then the big kids won't play on it, and then vice versa.
And of course, I think every time we've come up with an idea, we think of the pros and cons. One of the cons, the only one that I thought of at the Lincoln Park is how many kids use that. You know, I don't know, times I've been there, there's not a lot of use, but then I may not be there when there are lots of kids there. And then somebody said to me, well, Jan, what about the parking lot at Lincoln Park? It's terrible, it needs to all be resurfacing. But again, we don't know, would we want to put our money into resurfacing something, or would we want to come up with something? It's almost like, well, we could offer to pay for the resurfacing of the pool, but is that something new and different and more impact when you've got the money? So it's hard to come up with something.
Yeah, I had a couple suggestions that might work. We've been kind of kicking the idea around about a boat pier or adding some additional parking at the marina, and we could label it as Halnack provided boat parking, and we all know that there's not enough boat parking at the marina, and that would be impactful to a lot of people very rapidly. And then one thing I thought of is, we have those signs that are at the end of some of the inlet roads, like maybe doing a re-update of those, and or like there used to be ones that you drive around and they would say Lincoln Hills and Mill Springs and all that sort of stuff. If there was a way to maybe update some of those, I think the one in Mill Springs is gone.
Yeah,
Fell down.
actually, that was on my list to do this winter. I was going to leave them there, but cap them with a brown metal sign that kind of looks woodish.
Yeah.
And have the.
Well, I was just thinking of something because like the garden clubs has provided by the garden club on the bottom.
Sure.
You guys could put provided by Helmack and, get your name out there for that. Those are, I have no idea what the cost
Is
of
there
the sign.
a person that we should email if we come up with ideas?
Well, I'm just guessing maybe Brenda or myself, either
Yeah.
one of us would probably be okay.
I can leave my email for you, because then we'll take those, the ideas
to
back to our next meeting. I can't.
See, we don't.
Is it okay if we put it in the minutes?
Oh, absolutely.
Sure,
Give it to
yeah,
Deborah?
for ideas for,
We could put it in the minutes.
Absolutely.
Any other discussion on that?
We just need to look now and maybe early spring. We don't meet over the winter usually, so that's when, and having just had the book around, it's on our minds, so we're trying to.
Can I ask how much money you got to play with, so we?
8,000 to 10,000.
Okay.
Approximately.
Okay.
And if it didn't start till next spring, then we could use next year, there's that money too. So some of the money, we keep some reserve in both accounts, the general account and the charitable gaming. But probably a total of that could come combined from both as funds.
Very nice.
Okay, thank
That'd be
you.
great.
Next topic is lake test, and this is Rick Miller. I assume since the board is looking at producing, and Lake Committee is looking at producing some type of boating test. I presume that's what it's gonna be about.
Yes, sir, it is. Okay, just a little bit of background for you. Uh, 2 or 3 meetings ago, I was listening intently with the discussion between the board and the lake committee about the idea of testing property owners or watercraft operators to help increase knowledge and security on the lake. And one of the things that occurred to me right away was if you go about testing 1,000 people, or maybe 2 or 3 times that if you decide to test all operators, not just one family, it could be an overwhelming task for staff. You'd have to add staff to get that done for just 1,000 people. It would be monumental. So I got to thinking about it. You know, I had 47 years in information systems and technology for a career. And so my training and background kicked in, and that could be my worst enemy. But I got to thinking about the design and development and the systems that might be necessary to support an effort like that, because I happen to support the idea. So as I did that, the first thing I did was create a list of potential system requirements that if I was shopping for software to help me do a job like that, you know, what would it look like? So I made a fairly long list of requirements, and unfortunately, I left them at home and didn't get back here in time to make copies for all of you, so I'll do it afterwards. But in those requirements, you know, I listed the data points that I think we might want to capture. I listed, you know, requirements like it must be portable. It has to be online so that you can control the cost of equipment and logistics. So you could test using a PC or a tablet or even a phone, for Pete's sake. If it's online. Some other things like the database has to be exportable and transportable, because once you collect licensing information online, you might want to use it later, potentially for a security system. But it needs some sort of a certification process. Ideally, a system would let you actually, once the operator passes the test, print the license form. Save your people a lot of time. But some other things, you know, that you might want to think about, though, do you want the testing to continue to be a closed book test or an open book test like it is now, or do you want to make it a closed book test? And how would you grade it? And a lot of things involved that have to be thought about. Okay, but I went looking next for a system to satisfy my list of requirements. Of course, once you see these, once the lake committee sees these, you may change them or add to them. So it's just my thoughts, my opinions. But I'll share these with you after the meeting. But what else did I do? Well, once I got those requirements and time was passing, I couldn't sit still, so I went looking for software. And I want to show that to you tonight, just to stimulate your creative thinking on what can you do with software to license our watercraft operators. Now, first thing I found was that most of the software that is out there, as I went shopping for something like the Bureau of Motor Vehicles does, I couldn't find anything. And it led me to the conclusion, right or wrong, that what they're using is either custom development or proprietary for government institutions and such things, because I couldn't find one designed just for licensing, like we're talking about, operator permits. So I did, though, find many solutions. And by many, I mean hundreds of possible learning management systems that are out there for purchase. Or the way most things are done with online systems now, they're licensed, so it's got an annual fee associated to it. I also learned that there's a wide array of costs for these systems that are available. I mean, they're ranging from $500 a year to $27,000 a year. So I saw a lot. Now, the $27,000 variety could be the proverbial Cadillac of software. But that sounds a little prohibitive to me. I don't know about you guys. But nevertheless, I just saw a lot of things that deserves a good deal of thought. But what I also found was a learning management system that has most of the component requirements that I thought, and could lead us to an affordable solution. The one I'm looking at, I'm going to show you really quickly tonight, is probably going to cost somewhere between $500 and $1,000 per year, give or take. And that could be lower depending on some decisions we make on how often we're going to test our members. So you might, for example, give everybody a 30 or 50 question test, and then each year put out some sort of a supplemental quiz or test or something with new rules and changes and such like that. So how you go forward is really worth a lot of consideration, and I think we'll talk about that very briefly as I get into the end. So, as I looked at the licensing costs, it looks like most of these software solutions that cost a lot of money, they base their participant pricing on about $10 per participant. And so if we're talking 1,000 people, $10,000, right? But if you're looking at testing everyone, all operators, it could be $20,000 or $30,000. So they're not outrageous, but if you think about what it costs you to get your license and the testing that goes with that, you know, $10 is not outrageous. But are we going to charge for that? I didn't think so, not initially anyway. So I went looking for a cheaper, more affordable solution. So, the demo you're going to see tonight is, in my opinion at least, an affordable solution. It's not a perfect solution. Perfect to me costs more, but it's a starting point. That's what I want you to look at with me. So, what I'll try to do is just demonstrate a few things that I observed and take you through a 3-question test and show you the results of that.
Does it have a name?
Yeah, it's called Easy LMS.
Easy LMS?
Yes, and LMS is Learning Management System. That's what that stands for. Now, these are designed mostly for corporate or educational institutions and things like that. So some of the things that are built into this software and others like it, they're probably not going to be needed, but they're there if you want them. For example, you could create course content and do instructional training online for people, as well as doing testing, which is what our primary focus is here. Okay? So let's start with some of the things that I learned. If I go to the exams, I set up 2 just for my own testing, and I ran them through several different kinds of tests. And so I took 3 questions off of the test C that we use now at the arena. And let's just demonstrate one more thing. I took that test and I put it online. Happens to be on the HLCS site. It could just as easily, just as fast be put on the Heritage Lake site. So I just did this as an experiment. So I put that test C online. So this is just an example how once you have online access, you can do iPhone, iPad, whatever you want, okay, to give people access. So let's begin this test. Press that button. I hope you can see this a little bit where you're sitting. So the first thing I do is create an account, and the questions that I'm asking, some of them are standard in the software, and some of them I added optional extra questions, just to give you an idea, okay? So we'll put in an email address, I'll use my own, except. And I'll put in a username. And a password. And a repeat on the password. Phone number. My gender. I asked for a date of birth because if you're testing a younger person, we need them to be 16 or older, we need that birth date. How we go about validating that is another question we'll have to deal with, but I'll put in Heritage Lake lot number. This is important because we're going to print that on the permit. So, and I don't know if we want to do this, but I know from printing the ID cards for you, or the permits for you this past year, we also print a number on those permits. And we could, and if that number is unique, and it can be, then we could use that here to cross-match that, that person in our systems. So I'll just put one in. And driver's license, if they don't have one, or then they can put in NA. And finally, a checkbox to say I agree with the terms. I put in some terms just to give you an idea of what you can do with that. So in terms of conditions, what I have now, and you can customize this, the watercraft operating permit is a privilege extended to Heritage Lake residents. It is issued after successfully receiving a passing score to the Lake Rules assessment and may be revoked for safety violations that justify such action. By agreeing to these terms, you agree to abide by the Lake Rules as laid out in the Heritage Lake Rules booklet. That's the kind of thing.
Now, is this through this LMS?
Yes.
Okay. So all this was generated and then put on your website?
All.
And all of those first initial are optional? You
All.
decided,
All questions that are that you saw and any more that you want are all optional. Yes, sir. So then I put in the information, check the box, and begin the test. Now, the test can be, right now I have 3 tests, and if you look at those tests, most of the questions on all 3 are the same questions. Might be a few sprinkled around different, but most of them are the same. So you could simplify the administration of this by putting in all the questions and just telling the system how many questions to present and have it randomly generate the sequence the questions come up and even randomly generate the answers so that no 2 people are taking the same test. So it's just a useful option. Okay, so the first question, if I can adjust my screen. Personalized watercraft are not permitted to be used as tow powercraft. True. An orange flag must be prominently displayed when a skier or anyone in tow is down. And I had 3 questions. Did I miss one? Oh yeah, I missed one. Person with an watercraft operator's license must have the license with him or her in the boat. Now, I answered all these correctly, and you can set the threshold for if you miss some, how many can you miss before it tells you you failed, and it will. In this case, I think.
is it with this particular program, if you answer a question wrong, will it let you re-answer that question again, right then and there?
That's an option, and yes. Okay. You can, or if you don't, and if they fail, you make them study, come back and retest, you can at least, if they answer it wrong, it can display, and I've got a sample of that if you want, but it can display the correct answer if they did one wrong. So there's some configuration considerations, but the capability for all those things, Tom, are there. Okay, so says I passed, good for me. Tap the download certificate button, and this is a mock-up, not a very good one, but it prints the watercraft operating permit with my name, and I didn't choose it right, but it can print pretty much whatever I want that's in the database.
So how much time did it take you to develop those 3 questions on this particular?
Well, because it was a learning process and I was looking at all the configuration options, I'm sure it took me much longer than it should have. But I went back and I put in another test. I started to put in all 30 of one of the tests, and I got through number 16 and I said, no, I can't take that much time in a meeting, and I stopped. But putting in those first 16 of 30 questions took me 20 minutes, give or take.
And the data, all the data that we entered, is it available in what type of format?
Okay, I can show you. So, now that I've taken the test, if I go back to this dashboard, it has an Analyze button. And you can see I've taken several tests because it lists all of my test results. And the date and time that I did it, and those kind of things. But among other things, and this could be useful for anyone at the marina who needs to verify or maybe even reprint somebody's license. But this data can be exported. This particular export, it's in a demo mode, so I don't get everything that I wanted to see. But if I export, then it creates an Excel formatted file that I can save and send to other places.
And this particular program is the $5,000 to $1,000 cost
Yes, this particular one is.
for unlimited number of test takers?
Actually, their $500 price range was for 2,000 plus, they said. Okay. So we don't know the true final cost, but it's certainly not 27,000. Okay.
Do you know if that's a SharePoint? Because some of them look, it looks very similar to a SharePoint type of setup.
I suspect not,
No?
but I've used SharePoint, I know where you're coming from. But no, when you set up a dashboard, similarities can be really a lot. So that's just a really crude demonstration of what you can do with an LMS.
So in terms of the type of platform this runs on, does it run on an iPad or
Yes.
does it, so
It runs on anything that's connected to the internet. So if you have an internet browser, you can use this thing. Now, one of the things it does, and this will help us decide how we want to deploy this. Okay, so I put it out on my website to show it to you. But it also lets me, for any one or any number of tests, I can grab the address, the internet address of that test, and give it to you in an email or in a text message or whatever is appropriate, and then you can go take that test. So there's a lot of ways to deploy this thing. And that's the kind of stuff that needs to be talked about in committee. Okay? But the good news is you have a lot of options. And this is the cheap software. Imagine the expensive stuff. Okay? So
did they send you a quote or is this just over the phone?
no, this is just their listed pricing.
Listed prices.
Yeah, it's listed online. So, I also gave some thought then, after I showed this to you and came up with this as a demo for you, then I thought, okay, if I'm in your position, what's next? What are the recommended next steps? And again, I'll give you a copy of this after the meeting, but I can tell you it's a short list. I think you guys, you folks, need to create a licensing committee. On that committee, we need to put someone with at least some software selection and or implementation knowledge, someone from the board, preferably, but I'm volunteering, by the way.
Did you say you are?
Someone on that committee.
That's what he said.
Yes.
I heard him.
I heard it too.
You need to assign someone from the Lake Rules Committee, maybe Kent Hoops, I don't know, and then assign a liaison from the board. Let this committee take what I've done and take it to the next level to a proposal for you. You can give them any guidelines you want, like don't exceed this amount of money, but let them work it and bring it to you. I think with input from the committee, you will need to make some fundamental decisions such as who will be tested, frequency of testing and or retesting, will the test be open or closed book. The committee can present you other decisions you may need to make as they complete what I started here. But with the licensing and testing, or will it be required before they can register their vote? That's an important decision for me. So I want you to give some thought to your cost tolerance, because if the software is, say, $5,000 to $1,000 or more, if that comes out of the recommendation, but if it's in that ballpark, then I expect the committee to also tell you how do they want to deploy it. Like, do they want a tablet or a PC at the marina and in the office? Do they need more than one? And so if they recommend that, you might need to buy some hardware. It's not terribly expensive, but it's cost. They might recommend you do it different, or you don't need hardware. I don't know. But they'll give you a final software recommendation with any features, functions, and options that they come up with that I haven't thought of, or maybe better than I found. Important, you guys need to decide if you go forward with this, when do you want to implement? Because if you're going to implement by April, we've got to start right.
Any questions on the board? Steve?
Sounds good.
Jim?
You know I don't like it, Tom, so it doesn't matter.
Pardon me?
I think we need to be very, very careful that we don't try to see who we can fail. Like, I take 5 regulatory exams coming from the SEC, FINRA, Indiana, CFP organization. I have to take those every year. And none of those governing bodies try to make people fail. And none of them have closed book tests.
Open book is still an option.
None of them do. In fact, in the NCAA, they even get us in groups to study, and we get each other's answers. They do it on purpose, so you see the practical aspects of it. And I think if we could do videos, show them when somebody falls, what direction are you supposed to go, all that kind of stuff.
Those things are all available in this software and others.
Even at that grade?
Yes.
We just have to shoot it.
Yeah, that they don't include that as a test, but in the test, I didn't include it as an example. I did test one. You can include photos with the question. I didn't see on this one where you could include a video with the question. But yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do to help people, help assure that people understand the rules. Whether it's an open book test or not, that's the objective.
My tests are almost all in 10 question segments,
Yep.
and then you get tested on those 10. And if you fail that segment, they remix the questions, and then they make you do it again until you get it right.
And that is essentially possible here. I mean, you can set your threshold on how many questions, and you can weight the questions so that if certain questions are particularly important to you, you could give it a point value of 5, let's say,
Got it.
and other questions a point value of 1. So that when it scores you, you know, if you miss one of the big ones, you might fail. But then you can turn around, if you allow it, you can turn around and start the test over again right now, if you fail.
Yeah, I guess, you know, one of your criteria, one of the things that I didn't hear you say, but I'm sure you had said it in your list, we have to just decide what is our objective.
And there are 2. Safety of our people.
Okay?
And then we're diligent as an organization at trying to make it safe for our people. Those are what I see as the objectives are.
Okay. John, anything?
I appreciate everything you've come up with, Rick, and what the potential is out there. I think we need to form a committee, a task group, whatever it is, and start looking into this right away. My thoughts are 5 heads are better than 1.
Well, we got 1 volunteer.
I think he's a project manager.
Oh, that works
He's
for me.
probably the task force or committee, you know.
Just a little, I did have a conversation about this with Kent Hoops. He has not seen the software, but he's heard me describe it, and so, you know, I know I'm on the same page as he is.
And I'm familiar with programs and all this, you know, that are out there in the 500 to that. No, I'm not familiar with the programs themselves, but I'm familiar with the cost. And, you know, it's a broad range, and 500 to 1,000 sounds very low to me. You know, there's a lot more to it than how many tests you do. It's over a period of time. So I think at this point, I think it's really an excellent thing to look at. I think some people need to be tested.
We got to get on.
And for the safety of our community, period. So, and the only way to do it is to get on top of it. And I can be on the committee with you, Rick, so.
Any other board comments?
We're not out to flunk people.
Yeah, I think-
That's not the objective. The objective is to make them learn the rules.
So right now, what we have at the lake is in order to get a sticker to put on your boat, you sign a piece of paper saying you received the rules, correct?
Yes.
We used to sign the back of the card. Now, the cards have been eliminated with our new process on our computer, but if you sign your credit card slip, you know, sign to accept that, then that is the same as signing your name to say
Then
you
you've
got the book
received
and
the
everything.
rule book.
Yeah.
And receiving the rule book
That's not
doesn't mean
enough.
squat, obviously.
Doesn't mean squat.
So this, our objective should be that you've read and understand the rule book. You might flunk the test and have to take the question over again, but you read and understand the rule book, and I think that's our biggest
I don't
objective.
have any problem with that.
So that the person in the boat can't turn to the cop and say, I didn't know that. And that's what happens all the time, right? Ken?
Yes, I
So
told.
that's our objective.
I told
think that,
Hoops
you know,
that today. I think a couple things. I think we need to be careful that we're not jumping over the lake committee. They need to be, you know, they take pride in this kind of being what they would present to the board.
When I
And
first, addressed that, when I first sent the requirements that I came up with, I sent them to Rick Huddleston and Ken Hoops. And then when I went off the next tangent, looking at software, I didn't, but I fully expected to sit down with Kent and the Lake Committee in length before it goes any or much further.
And
I think we should
the other
have a
thing
meeting.
would be is, when I talked to Kent today, is that I think the main objective is for nobody to get hurt. And secondly, to eliminate people, because I told him, I said, 9 out of 10 times you stop somebody, they will tell you. And I guarantee you, most of them know, but they will tell you, well, I didn't know that. So if you could eliminate those two things, or make sure things are safe and eliminate people from telling you that, then I think everything else is gonna take care of itself.
I'd agree to that.
AJ?
I think it's a good idea for safety. I think the implementation is gonna be potentially a lot on the marina staff and or the office staff to have to churn through all the data, and if people are there and they don't know how to work it, or, you know, I don't know how to use a tablet, or I don't, you know, whatever. That, I see some technological issues, and I just see some potential people, you know, well, my spouse can't make it down there, does that mean she can't drive? And we have to outline all those rules. It just seems like there's a lot of legwork.
Yeah, one thing, AJ, on that point, you're right. One thing that I heard, at least at the Lake Committee discuss, and also here, possibly setting up a few days during the winter time and inviting people in to the clubhouse, to the marina, to take the test.
I just see all the weekenders.
But they can take the test.
Why can't
right
you just
on
go
the
online and
computer.
take it
They
during
can
the
go on
winter?
their computer.
I'm just saying if it's available in that way to take it,
Mhm.
and that's acceptable.
So who,
Yeah, I think that's.
I'm waiting now.
what do
Yeah. and
I'm just,
Yeah, that's-
I'm just
that's a
outlining
good
some of the
point.
things that, you know,
That needs to be
Or like-
established right away.
just so everybody knows.
All of those concerns and any others like it should be considered by this committee.
Sure.
To give you some degree of comfort and confidence.
To Ken's point about jumping the lake committee, can we just ask the lake committee to appoint a liaison, and then they're part of the committee? Because if we go to lake, we could be 2 months before we even get started. And from what you're saying, we gotta get on with this.
You're gonna have Ken Hoops.
okay, I could give Kent, we'll get to you, Lois.
You know, the last Lake Committee meeting, we already talked about this. We're actually, right now, have been asked to go through the rule book and assign a number of severity to a rule. Like, let's find the one that's the worst thing to break, that can cause the most, you know, damage, or the worst thing you can do. And that's letting somebody come in and use your equipment that has never been to the lake and doesn't know the rules. And then putting the flag up and all the different things, we've been asked to do that. And Kent went over that thing about the wife, because the husband and wife both have to take the test, so that is really already started.
Good.
So we're supposed to bring all of our information to the next
When is
Lake
next?
Committee meeting.
It
It'll
won't
be the fourth Wednesday in the month.
Yeah, it's
The next September.
September.
So do we want to, as the board, do we want to reach out to Kent Hoops, and does anybody on the board want to volunteer to be part of this as the
Ken,
board?
you know the politics of it better.
I personally thought the other night when I attended the meeting that, and I know they're all volunteers, but there's a lot to be done, and instead of having a meeting in September and a meeting in October, I think really they need to have a meeting every 2 weeks to get this kind of run
especially in
through.
September,
I think,
especially in
I
September.
believe Jim and Debbie Muhlenbein are also working
Mm-hmm.
on establishing criteria for the worst to the best. And, you know, they're very diligent people, and maybe, you know, that, there's 2 people there who could be on that committee, and they seem to get things done very quickly, and they're, you know.
Debbie's already started she's already presented at the meeting a list of questions, a test, if you will, to kind of, you know, play around with, but she's already got a list of questions put together.
How many, do you know?
Pardon?
How many's on that list?
I think 10 was.
I think 10, yeah.
10, your concept of 10. So do we want a board member to be part of that?
Who is the lead?
Steve's already the liaison now.
to be the part of that committee that's.
Hey, I heard a volunteer.
I was gonna say, John
Do you wanna do
volunteered.
it, John? So then why don't you call Kent Hoops
Okay.
and make arrangements to get together? It sounds like Rick Miller wants to be part of it, and,
Ken Hoops is all for it. He's already talked and he's trying to.
yeah, sometimes Kent is somewhat busy. So John's gonna be our board representative, and he's gonna contact Kent and go from there. Just keep us updated. Thanks, Rick.
Sure.
The last thing,
Thanks for all that work, Rick.
Dwayne wanted to give us an update on the spillway resealing or sealing.
Mine's not gonna be near as technical as the Conservancy, of course, you know we have to redo this, or seal the spillway. We've set up, the 21st of September is the date that we're gonna do whatever we have to do to the lake. Now, you have to understand that everything I say depends on weather. Right now, the lake's down something like 1.5 or 2 inches. There's so much moss over there, it's hard. And I didn't walk all the way down, walk all the way up and measure it, but it's something like that. We talked about we're going to try to, and like I say, depending on at that time what the weather forecast is. If it's saying no rain for 10 days, you know, and the lake's down 3 inches, we can live with that. If we have to lower it, we would probably lower it no more than 4 inches. It's, like I say, it's down 1.5 inches now. We've talked about it. Right now the spillway is dry as a bone, but they're forecasting rain for tonight and tomorrow. So how much we get, it still may not run over. But we've talked to Shannon. We've talked to the contractor that'll seal it. Shannon will come in with a bobcat with a brush on it and brush it, get all the dried moss on it, get everything off. Worst case scenario, if the lake's up and we have to open the spillway or open the overflow, if you've been over there to see it, that overflow is halfway down on the face and the water spans out. We've decided that we can get the contractor in here and seal what's dry, even while it's still being lowered, because the way the spillway sets, if we have any sun, it'll probably dry completely in a day or day and a half. Then they could seal that part of it. The contractor that puts the spillway in and the engineer say that for a few years, and that was the term they used, few, we haven't got them to pin a number down yet, we haven't even asked, but they say it should be sealed every 2 years. So the Conservancy is putting the 3rd Monday in September this year, and in 2 years from now, and maybe in 2 years from that, that'd be the day. We'll get after Labor Day, and then, you know, it will depend on strictly what the weather is at that time. Because we need about 48 hours after it's sealed for it to cure. It'd be better if we had 72, but if we just got a little dribble of water over it, we'd be all right. If we got a gully washer, then we might lose our seal. But we're like I say, it's strictly dependent on the weather. Now, I don't know whether you and Ken want to put a blast out. We're saying, I talked to Doug today again, and we're saying that worst case scenario, we'd have to lower it 4 inches. That would give us an inch rain or so and still not go over.
I can send a blast out at any time, just as long, when you confirm something and confirm
Well,
how much and when, you just let me know.
I'm confirming that the 21st, the 3rd, which is the 3rd Monday in September,
Weather permitting.
that weather permitting,
Yeah, right.
we will either use what the lake is already down, or maybe have to lower it 4 inches.
Will that lowering to 4 inches, would that impact any homeowners from removing their boat?
No.
I would say maybe the only place, if it's already down, would be somebody like down at the, yeah, on the very end of the north end, where Ramsey's live.
Right.
That'd be the only place.
But, you know, and I'll say again that I don't have a boat, a dock or anything, but anybody that 4 inches keeps them from getting their boat off their lift is gonna have a real problem. Back about 6 years ago, we were down 10 inches just from evaporation. You know, so they need to do something with their boat lift or something if 4 inches keeps them from getting their boat off.
So what you're saying is the 21st, weather permitting, is a go?
Yeah, yeah.
But it shouldn't really impact the usage of the lake. It's not like they're gonna have to go idle only
No.
or anything like that.
No.
Just checking.
But you know, and like I say, every 2 years, for a few years, we will be doing that on that third Monday. Now, there has been times in the past when the board has come to the Conservancy and said, we'd like for you to lower the lake 4 feet this winter so people can work on their docks. So as far as we're concerned, 4 or 5 inches is ours. If the board that some year wants to lower than that, then we'll naturally cooperate with the board like we always have.
So if I understand what you just said, what you're saying is going forward, the third Thursday in September, your plan? Monday in September, third Monday in September, going forward, you're planning on lowering the lake 4 inches
Yeah,
every year?
Every 2 years.
every 2 years.
2 years, okay.
Yeah.
And we'll do that for about 6 years, you say, or?
Well, that's what we've got to get the contractor said for a few years to protect our
Okay.
$535,000 spillway investment, that to get the longest life out of it, that we should do that for a few years. We don't have a 10-year, 12-year, he just said for a few years, so we've got to pin that down. But it shouldn't be any impact on anybody if we never lower it more than 4 or 5 inches.
Yeah.
That's all determined on how long that sealant's gonna last to start with. So-
Right,
And that's all.
right.
The way it go off of is what they say with that, how long
So
that
you're
project's
saying
gonna
4
last.
inches,
So
4 inches from pool level?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's down about roughly 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches. I went over there and looked at it the other night. I didn't walk down and walk clear up to the top and measure it. I'm getting too old for that. But you looked at it, there's so much moss up there against it, but it looks like it's down, and Doug agreed today, it looks like it's like down 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, not any more than that.
Any other questions?
Yeah, anybody have any questions?
Nope.
I just wanted to run it by you guys tonight. I'll probably announce it at the POA meeting, because I know that will just be a week ahead of time, the 14th and then the 21st. But I just wanted you guys to know, and maybe for you to get a blast out before the next meeting, just so, because every time you say lower the lake, everybody panics. You know, whether you're saying 1 inch or 10 feet, it's all, the panic's all the same.
Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Dwayne.
Any other board issues? Can I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
all right.
Thanks for coming, folks. Do we need an executive meeting tonight?
I don't have anything.
Jim?
Yeah, one.
Okay, 5 minutes.
I mean, it'll just be a quick, yeah, just a quick.
The wiki.
In 5 minutes?
You know, I could just walk around the table.
In 5 minutes?
One-on-one.
In 5 minutes?
Okay.
It just comes natural for me.
5 minutes, guys.
Happy birthday, let's get it out of here. So I'm getting ready.
Completely lose his mind.
We went through there, I had two in the morning, one in the afternoon, then I came home, and we just had a real nice dinner.
Shit, I've done 5 rounds.
Yep.
Look up, you know where those green,
Don't you forget to say it's the first drink.
I know I did.
What
do you got?
I'm gonna be waiting
What do you
there,
got?
I'm gonna be waiting there with the bell.
What do you got?
Rick,
You just have to tell them.
did he leave?
hey, thank you.
Because there's some people who think I'm getting ready to dump something. I think he's making
You make copies already? They wanted to ask you. but-
Rick, just a quickie.
Yeah.
I was on the Indiana 802 example. Academics got in.
I like that you moved right along.
We weren't getting the right questions. Our fail rate went from
36 now.
4%
Wow.
to 72%. We were the lowest in the
You
nation.
should have died from what?
And then now we got a sudden crisis because we can't get anybody to people financial asset investments. And it took us 5 years to correct that because they had these questions that were academic.
That's what.
Please don't do that.
No, in fact, I don't even want to create.
Well,
But
That's it. That's all they're going for them.
the old test is the only option that you can choose. Or you can just let them
I got a little
retest.
scrape on my knee when I landed on the ladder.
yeah, but my securities tests
I was on the boat house.
the paragraph
Put back on and everything.
and then